everyone, I'm Bree. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to do an author recommendation Friday. This is an idea that I've been kind of toying around with. I feel like on one hand it will really motivate me to work my way through authors' backlist titles. I feel like in the online book community so much of it is about creating buzz for new titles, and I totally get it. But I feel like also if you aren't reading backlists, you're possibly missing out on some really wonderful stories, and I know that I personally need to do better. So I think that this will be a good motivator to actually work through some backlist titles so that I can get some recommendations out there of like really good places to start with authors. So kind of my idea for these videos is to share what I find interesting about the author and then share with you 3 reading recommendations that if they are new to you authors, I feel like are good places to start. And we are going to kick it off with Melanie Harlow. So for me, Melanie Harlow has become one of my favorite romance authors. My kind of reading history with her, I discovered her around the same time that I discovered Audible Escape. And so I went on Audible Escape and I typed in her name, and they had like, I think like 4 or 5 books of hers on audio. I binged those over the course of like a week. Once I exhausted all of those, I was like, okay, I was used to her writing style. I was kind of used to what I could expect from her stories, how she crafted her romances. Now she's an author that I save for very specific times. And those times are usually when I've been reading a book that's putting me in a little bit of a slump, or when I've been reading a book and I finish it and I'm just in this weird in-between of like, I don't really know what I want to read next. If there's a Melanie Harlow that I have not read at that time, then I will pick up my Melanie Harlow books. I absolutely love her. Her books follow very real modern characters, but they also like fall in love in this kind of old-fashioned way. So most of her stories take place in Michigan. They usually take place somewhere outside of like Detroit. So I'm assuming she is a Michigan-born author. She graduated from Miami, Ohio with a degree in American Studies, which led to her teaching high school English for 5 years. And she has always been a dance teacher, which I find fascinating. I'm always fascinated by romance authors' careers because I feel like that's another misconception that people have about romance authors. I feel like they kind of put them in this box as far as like what they do for their day job. And as far as her reading life, so she recently typed up an article for Frolic, so I'll find it and I will leave it linked down below, but she highlighted one of her favorite authors. She actually calls her idol, and that is Laverne Spenser. And the book specifically that she highlights as like loving is this book called Years, which takes place in the early 1900s, and it follows our heroine Leanne, who travels to North Dakota for her first teaching job at the age of 18. This is her romance with Teddy Westgard, and it sounds like it follows their relationship over years. I know that World War I is mentioned, so it sounds like she just has some losses and has some loves, and it sounds really wonderful. So of course I have added it to my Goodreads. I love older romances, and I do want to do better about reading favorites of my favorite romance authors, so I'm really looking forward to tracking this down and finally having my hands on it. For the 3 recommendations, I feel like honestly you should read everything by Melanie Harlow. However, if you want 3 specific places to start, I feel like these are all 3 really good ones. So the first up is Man Candy. And I recommend this one because it is low on the angst, but very steamy and also hilarious. And this is the romance between Jamie and Quinn. And it has one of my favorite tropes in it. It has the big brother's best friend trope. Me being the oldest kid, I always secretly wish that I had an older brother as I got older, just because I was like, it'd be so cool to have an older brother who has a hot friend. I was the oldest, so I missed out on that. Jamie confesses her love to Quinn back when they were kids, and he just kind of laughs her off. Obviously, they have this bro code, like, dude, don't touch my sister, so he has his reasons, but now he's back in her life. He literally lives right downstairs from her now, and things get pretty steamy pretty quickly. What I love about Jamie is she does not love love. She is not a lovey-dovey person. She does not believe in love, and the only real example of a good relationship that she has is her brother and his husband. And even them, they're like, it's not always magical, but if it's something that you want, you have to work for it. So they encourage her to go to seek therapy and kind of get her issues off of her chest. Fun, it was sexy. I highly recommend it if you're wanting something with a little bit of humor and very steamy and low on the angst. Next is Frenched, and this follows Mia and Lucas. So Lucas is actually among Melanie Harlow's harlots. Lucas is one of our favorite heroes, and Mia is one of everybody's favorite heroines. So that is a good sign if you are, you know, looking for a Melanie Harlow to jump into. But just days before Mia is supposed to get married, she gets dumped, and her friend friends encourage her, take the single moon and go to Paris by yourself. So she does, and that's where she meets Lucas. I love this just because I love travel stories. Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert and Wild by Cheryl Strayed are two of my absolute favorite books ever. I reread them at the beginning of every year, and I spend about 2 weeks just rewatching the movies like I've never seen them before. So any storyline that gives me vibes of like woman going and traveling somewhere by herself and meeting someone, falling in love, or just traveling by herself, period, I'm all over it. So I really enjoyed this. I love that she just kind of went out there on a whim after such a really sucky time. I mean, who wants to get dumped right before they're supposed to get married? But it turned out to be a lot of fun. This one is very steamy. So if you're looking for a travel story with a lot of steam, I highly recommend this one. And the last one is Some Sort of Happy, and this one is more emotional but also really funny as well. I feel like Melanie Harlow did a wonderful job balancing both. So in this one, we follow Sebastian and Skylar. And what Melanie Harlow does fantastically in this story is Sebastian lives with OCD, and she just really captured wonderfully just his mental health issues and how he's really guarded and he tries to protect himself. And I think once Skylar comes back into the picture, you really see him trying to protect her from him as well. They grew up together, they went to the same high school, but they did not run in the same crowd. Skylar was the popular beauty queen and Sebastian was this loner. So when she comes back into the picture, she does not remember him. She was recently on this reality show that kind of coaxed her into being the bad girl, and they did some editing and it made it sound like she was trash mouthing her hometown, which she's now back in, so people are treating her some kind of way. It was just perfect. It was the right amount of emotional and quirky. It was so sexy but sweet at the same time. And then she just did have this perfect balance of like emotional and humorous. So kind of a contradicting story, but it really worked. And I feel like if you want something a little bit darker, but also has a little bit of humor to it as well, I feel like this is a wonderful place to start. So that is my author spotlight for Melanie Harlow. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know down in the comments below one of your favorite romance authors or one of your favorite authors, period, and one of your must-reads by them. If I have not read it, I will add it to my Goodreads as something that I want to read. I hope you have a happy Friday and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.
Makes no difference if